Whoa. Hey everybody, Mr. Traveler here. Wanted to come to you real quick with one of the biggest questions we get, and that is about hurricane season. Should I book my cruise during hurricane season, and what happens? We'll talk about it right after this. Hey everybody, Mr. Traveler here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. So as I was saying at the beginning of the video, this probably one of the biggest questions we get is questions around hurricane season. So people always want to know, should I book during hurricane season? What happens if there's a hurricane during my cruise? What if there's a hurricane before the cruise? Those kind of questions we get all the time. So first off, just to let you know, hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, in case you didn't know. That is a full 6 months. So half our time here in Florida, we are in hurricane season. That being said, typically the busiest time for hurricane season is mid-August up until early November timeframe. That's the busiest time. It's typically when the ocean is the warmest and you get those fronts that come off the coast of Africa, build up steam with the heat in the water, and start making their way into the Caribbean and towards the US. Now 2024 is predicted to be a very active storm season, and I can tell you firsthand, we've been to the beach a couple of times. The water here in Florida was already very, 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 very warm, unseasonably warm this year. So that is something to take into consideration. But I would tell you that for most of us down here in Florida, we don't really, think about the hurricanes that much. We keep our eye on the weather forecast, and when we see that there's potential for a storm coming, we prepare. Whatever that may be, getting supplies together or having to leave and evacuate, whatever the case may be for wherever people live in Florida. But guess what? The cruise lines also do the same thing. They monitor very closely the weather and other situations going on around the world. Their first and foremost safety protocol is to keep their passengers safe. That's number one. Number two is to keep their crew safe. And number three, of course, is to keep those beautiful, very expensive ships in safe condition as well. So it behooves them to make sure that they're not involved in any kind of storm damage that could possibly occur. So that being said, let's talk a little bit about what happens if there's potentially some bad weather, i.e. a hurricane. And it's no secret, guys, that some of the best deals can be found in fall sailings anytime once the kiddos go back to school up until November, right? So your October, November, really great times to get some really good deals. And that's for a twofold reason. Number one, the kiddos are back to school, so you don't have as many families traveling. And it's, a chance of a storm season. So those are a couple of factors that keep the price down in October and November. So what could potentially happen? The number one most popular thing that happens if there's a storm or something going on is that the cruise line is going to change the itinerary of the ship. So let's say if we have a strong storm coming across the Atlantic and it goes over the north side, it's like St. Thomas and San Juan, and you have an Eastern Caribbean cruise schedule going to those places, more than likely they're going to reschedule the ports. They'll not go to San Juan or St. Thomas. They'll move it down to Jamaica and Grand Cayman, or may even turn it into a Western Caribbean and go down to Cozumel and Costa Maya, that kind of thing. So that's the number one thing that they do is they change itineraries. You may even miss ports, which is a bummer, but I'd rather miss a port than to be on a ship in the middle of a hurricane. So that's the number one thing that they do is they change itineraries. Number two is that there may be delays. So if you're on an embarkation day and there's a storm coming up along the coast of Florida, they may delay that ship several hours before they launch off to let that storm go past. And they still may change their itinerary on your cruise as well. But you can, there may be delays coming in or coming out of the ports if they need to let a storm pass on by. Now, again, they pay very close attention to the weather forecast to see what are the odds of the storm going this way or that way, and they make adjustments as needed. And the captains do an excellent job of keeping everybody safe by monitoring those weather conditions. And the last thing that could potentially happen is they cancel the cruise. You know, it's a bummer, but it does happen. After all the cruises that we've been on, we've only had hurricane effects on a couple of them. One of them was on a Carnival cruise during 2017 when Maria hit Puerto Rico. Our Carnival cruise was canceled. Now, it wasn't during the storm, it was actually after the storm, but they took our ship and sent it over to Puerto Rico. Carnival volunteered to send the ship over there to help with the reconstruction and recovery efforts in Puerto Rico. So as such, we have a full refund on our cruise, and we actually got a bonus back on top of that. So we were actually able to experience the Carnival Vista at the time, which was one of Carnival's newest ships at that time. And we went down to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, as opposed to the itinerary that we were going on originally. The other time we were on a Disney cruise, and we were delayed while we watched the storm going up the Atlantic coast. So we were delayed several hours before our ship took off, but no big deal. We had a good time on this ship when we sat in port, so not a big wrap this thing up. So in a nutshell, like I said, the cruise lines are going to do a really good job to keep you safe, keep the crew safe, keep their ships safe. They're not going to go into harm's way just to make a couple of dollars. But if you're still very risk adverse to going during hurricane season, there are other options for you. So great time to cruise the Caribbean was December through June. Is a great time to go. If you want to go through some really great weather, May and June are like really great months to go into the Caribbean, especially May. The water's starting to warm up. The water's a little calmer out in the ocean and in the Caribbean Sea, and you'll really have a good time. If you have a family, and I mean, you can only get out in the summertime, there's Alaska that you can go to. Now they really start sailing. They do start sailing in April, but a good time to go is May, June. If you get into July or August, the prices tend to go up a little bit. And then another option for you is also the Mediterranean. So, you know, looking back over the years of cruising, I remember they used to really be able to get good deals during the summertime with the cruise lines, because I think people were a little hesitant to cruise during hurricane season. But the cruise lines have done a really good job of repositioning their ships. So now there's not as many ships in the Caribbean during the summertime. So lessens the amount of cabins available to the families during that summertime. So, you know, like Holland America, there's no Hollands at all in the Caribbean during the summer. Princess may have one or two. I mean, your big players in the Caribbean during the summertime are going to be Royal Caribbean and Carnival and Norwegian to an extent. Most of those ships, they reposition them to the Alaska and to the Mediterranean. And they really make great trips too. So if you want to do a good repositioning trip to Alaska or to the Mediterranean, it's an excellent time to do it. And they're very fun, right? They're something different than just cruising into the islands. And then they bring those ships back in the fall after the hurricane season threat has passed. But, you know, so gone are the days of the great summertime deals. Now there's usually pretty higher in the summer nowadays. So those are some other options for you if you are risk adverse to doing the hurricane season in the Caribbean. So I hope you found this video helpful. You know, we understand that you work hard to make those vacation memories. We don't live in fear of the hurricane season. We have cruised so many times during hurricane season. We've only been affected by it twice out of all those times. And again, the cruise lines do an excellent job of keeping everybody safe. So, you know, if you've got your family, you only go out during the summertime, you know, go for it. You'll probably end up having a great time. And if a storm does happen to pop up, the cruise line will make sure they take good care of you. And if we can help you book any trip that you're wanting to go to, whether it be the Caribbean, Alaska, the Med, wherever else in the world, make sure you give us a call, 877-697-4470, or you can book online at www.mr-traveler.com. Guys, if you would be so kind, please like, share, and subscribe to the video. We have tons of ship tours, tons more coming, all kinds of tips, tricks, and fun videos for you to check out. We love cruising, and we love helping you make those cruising memories as well. I hope you found this video helpful, guys. Remember, life's short. Have fun. See the world. Bye, everybody.